Hello! Today I thought I'd try to do a video about straightening a Breyer horse's leg. I have here a Tunbridge Wells back from Breyer Fest 2012, who I realized after getting new shelving and being able to put him with his Cleveland Bay brothers that he has a severe leaning problem. And I like to use a heat gun to fix these legs, and it can usually be done pretty straightforward. I actually just finished fixing a second Tunbridge Wells because he happened to be leaning in the other direction. And then after I fixed him, I thought, well, maybe I'll try a video on it. So I do have a patty to put this guy next to show you just how much he leans. So yeah, like I said, he has a very severe leaning problem, and we're going to try to fix that with a heat gun. So bear with me, this is the first time I've done a video for this kind of repair, so I have no idea how this is going to turn out. The main thing you need to do, well, first of all, you need to figure out how they're leaning and what leg actually needs to be done. I'd already figured out before I started this, I figured out that it's this one. This one is too high up, and the whole leg from the hock on down needs to come down. And once I do that, that should work. So this is a long process. I'll see if I can do any editing later on to shorten the overall length of the video. But the key to fixing these legs is to go slowly, because it's really easy, especially on really skinny legs. It's really easy to go too far, and then you've got a whole different problem that isn't necessarily easy to fix. So bear with me as I try to get my camera angles so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I have an embossing heat gun. Bought it at a hobby shop with a coupon, so it was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 10 bucks, maybe 12. I really like this compared to a hairdryer. You can use a hairdryer. The catch with the hairdryer is it takes a little bit longer because it does not get as hot. I also like that the embossing gun has a nice little smaller nozzle so that you can, I feel I can get a better focus point on what I'm trying to do, so I'm not heating up more than what I want. The other thing I tend to have with me is, this is a silicone oven mitt. You can use anything, but the plastic will get hot, so if you can avoid using your bare hands, that's gonna help because this plastic gets really hot, especially to be able to bend a leg. You have to get it just toasty. So I use one of these silicone mitts. You could also use just a flat heating pad or a silicone trivet type of mitt. That works too. I would probably avoid doing a fabric mitt just because there's a slight chance that fabric pattern, the texture of the fabric, could possibly get into the plastic. I haven't really had that happen, but I'm paranoid, and that's not going to be an easy fix for later. So, like I said, let me hope that I can get the camera angle. What I do is I start heating, and another key to using this type of method is to keep it moving so that you're not focused on one spot the whole time. Like I said, you want to take it slow, so after 15-20 seconds, I take my pad and I try to test it. There's absolutely no give yet. he's gonna take a while because he's a big, hefty boy. Winter Song's legs are pretty, can be annoying too. So I'll go in for another round. I might take this closer to 20 or 25 seconds just because I know it's going to take a long time to heat up. Stablemate legs don't take very long at all, so be very careful when you do those. It's really easy to get those past the point of no return. You know, I may try to move my angle a little bit again so that I can handle the horses. I'm also trying to test the leg. Let's see if this works. I don't have any helper with me today to be able to check the camera angle for me, so I have no idea what I'm getting in the frame. If I lose part of the picture, then I will just edit it out later. I know some people do a hot water method and have had great success with that. I'm just more comfortable this way, so I really haven't done much with the hot water method. The key is, if you do the hot water method, make sure that you put the horse's limb in a plastic baggie first, and then dunk the baggie with the leg in the hot water. Do not let the hot water come in direct contact with the horse, because you could affect the horse's finish, especially if it's a glossy, so be very careful with that. I've used this method on glossies without a problem, so like I said, a lot of it is just what you're used to. On the other guy I did this morning, it took a while for him to get set up, so yeah, I can still easily touch his legs. So when you do start doing this, I'd also recommend working on a body first, just so that you get an idea of how this all works. If you work on a body that you don't care about, you can easily then push it past the point of no return just to see what happens. So I definitely recommend starting on bodies until you're comfortable with it. You can also use a paint stripper like you can find at the hardware store. But I still prefer, and that's what I used to use before I got this. Another hobbyist had recommended the embossing heat gun, and I just like it so much better. But I used to use, yeah, he's gonna take a while. But the key is to keep moving. Don't let it park in one spot. It's okay to do a narrower focus, like if you're just doing a hoof or something, but still keep it moving around that hoof and heat up the whole hoof. I'm gonna try turning him around a little bit. Oh, he's starting to move. He's starting to move. I don't know if you could see that, but he was starting to move. He has a little ways to go, but I was able to move him, do some movement of him. So that's a good sign. Sometimes it's awkward to hit that on-off button with this. Okay, he's moved a little bit more. So I tend to hold it for a moment. And then I try standing him up. I think he's already better than what he had been. Move my camera back a little bit. I'll try to come around this way. Yeah, I think he's doing better, but I think he still needs just a little bit more. So let me get Patty out of the way. Yeah, it's hard to show him in the camera angle, but I think he needs just a little bit more. But he is so close. Yeah. You also don't want to have your heat source directly on the plastic. You know, give it, I don't know, half an inch to an inch breathing room so that it's not right there on the plastic, because that's not going to help your cause. And throughout this, I hope that my talking has been able to be heard over the heat gun. I've tried to project, and this camera is pretty good, but we'll see how the finished one is. And I think he might be good to go. Let me do a quick check from this angle, and then I'll swing the camera around. Yeah, I think he might be good enough to call it a day. I think I'm satisfied with where he is. I mean, there's still, let me switch him around, because I think with the way this one leaned, it was easier to. So yeah, he's still, I might be able to do just a tiny bit more. It's hard to see, and then the camera kind of distorts things a little bit. Let me try to do this. But believe it or not, he's a lot better than he was. I might be able to move that, angle that foot in some. I think that's part of his problem too. So maybe I will work on that next. I chose Patty as the other horse in the demonstration because he was, I think, my best example. I have several Cleveland Bays, but I think Patty had the straightest legs out of all of them, so it was easier just to use him. Okay, so now I'm going to start the process again with this front leg. So bear with me, because this is going to take a while. And again, I hope I'm getting this in the screen. If not, I will just have to do a lot of cutting. So when I originally got Tunbridge Wells at Breyer Fest, I didn't think too much of it, and because of the way my shelves were, he wasn't really fully up against his Cleveland Bay neighbors enough to be able to tell just how crooked he was. So when I got new shelving and they could sit together, all of a sudden I realized, wow, that guy is really, really leaning. So when Breyer had one of their sales in the past year or so, they actually had spare Tunbridge Wells up there. So I thought, well, I'll grab one and we'll see, how he compares, and at least he should be straight. Well, I just laughed when I opened him, because it turns out the new one, he leaned just in the opposite direction. So I was stuck with two Tunbridge Wells, both of them leaning in opposite directions. And I've been hesitating to fix their legs because I knew it was going to be a long process. And today presented itself as a really good day to just finally do it and be done with it. And then I can decide which one I want to actually keep for my collection. And the other one will come back to Breyer Fest with me for sale. So they're actually quite different colors between the two of them, so it's going to be hard to decide who I should keep and who I should sell, but I don't have room for both. Especially with a big mold like this. As much as I love this guy, he's a giant, so he takes up a lot of space. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I will do what I can to answer. If I don't know the answer, I should be able to refer you to someone else, or I can ask someone else. But I'm much more fearless about legs than I used to be. There are still a couple I'm hesitant on. I have a racehorse mold who suffered a bent leg, but her legs are really spindly, and I am a little bit afraid on that one, so I may send her out to somebody who I know can help with that one. But she's got really delicate legs. This guy, it's going to take a while for you to actually mess anything up on him because he takes so long to heat up. Oops. I think I got his leg back a little bit better. Yeah. He might still be a little crooked, but in a spot where I don't know that I can get it safely. Depending on where their leg is bent, it can be difficult, especially if it's going to be up in here or the forearms or something. That can be hard. You can use this trick for tails, ears, even if you need to use it for a mane. This is what a lot of customizers do when they're working on their horses. They'll start with a heat gun. I decided I am going to go back to this one just a little bit. Yeah, and then make sure you heat the right leg and don't do what I just did and try to heat the wrong leg. There was one year Breyer Fest was hotter than usual, it seemed. This was several years ago, and I think I had to fix easily 3/4 of the horses that I brought home. And I think they started out warped from being shipped from Breyer to Kentucky, and who knows how long they sat where in the heat. But yeah, I had to fix a ton of my Breyer Fest stuff one year, so that helped me get some more experience with doing all of this. Yeah, he probably cooled off a little bit too much while I did the other leg. I probably should have stuck with this one first. But I actually had time this morning, which is why I decided this would be a good time to do it. I didn't have to worry about only having a few minutes to try to work this in. And that's another reason why it took me so long to get around to doing this, is because I knew I would need a sizable chunk of time. I think he's almost there. And when you do go to test the leg, test it gently, don't put a lot of pressure on it. If you put too much pressure, and especially if it's a small leg, it'll break on you. I fortunately have not had that happen, but just take it slow. This kind of repair work takes patience. I won't lie to you, it is not a quick fix. So Take your time. Don't rush through it. Rushing through it is how you make mistakes. And it can be really difficult to back up from a mistake you make. Which is another reason why I want you to practice on bodies first. Don't do this immediately on your top show horse. I would hate for something to happen to it. So at Breyerfest, raid some body boxes in the sales rooms. Search on the sales pages and other sales groups to try to, find, if you don't have bodies of your own already, just pick up a few. I mean, they're cheap, that's why they're bodies. Pick up a few and just do some experimentation. I recommend that with other restoration methods too, such as like cleaning and that kind of thing. Working on bodies with that too can help you get some of your techniques and see what you can do, what you can't do, how far down you should, how much you should press and rub and whatnot. Oh, he looks so much better now. Oh, happiness. He is now standing straighter. Again, it's hard to get the camera to show it truthfully. But trust me when I tell you that he is leaning so much better than he did. Let me try to turn him around. There. Thanks for joining me, and I'll maybe try to do another video sometime with one of my other restoration techniques.